Hey everyone, my name is Alec, and welcome to another edition of MASL Midweek, where I break down the past and predict the future for all things MASL, or at least all games MASL. This week we will start off by, of course, breaking down the past, which had 3 games this past weekend. We had Florida and Kansas City playing twice, and we had Dallas playing St. Louis. We'll start off with those Florida versus Kansas City games. Now, unfortunately, I was not able to watch much of either of these games due to work, but the bits and pieces that I was able to see in combination with the final scores still told me some interesting things. For me, these games were a much bigger test for Kansas City than they were for Florida. Kansas City had looked pretty good this season. They were dominant in the Central Cup, and their first game this season against the Sidekicks, they still looked really good. But I'll admit, I had a degree of skepticism about putting Kansas City in that top tier of teams in the league and making them out to be at the same level as Florida, or at least close to it. And the reason I was skeptical was because Kansas City, yes, they did well in the Central Cup, but they were playing the Sidekicks in that cup, and the Sidekicks are a team that I think are coming together but aren't quite there yet. They were also playing the Wichita Wings, which they're an M2 team, a very good M2 team, but they're M2. And they were also playing St. Louis in that cup. And St. Louis is a team that, as you know, I think they're very good, but they're really not playing to their potential right now. So to me, Kansas City hadn't really had a real test. So I was a little bit skeptical about putting them up there in that top tier of teams. Now, fast forward back to this weekend, and I think that they solidified themselves as one of those top tier teams. Yes, they lost both games, but they were very competitive in those games, especially the first one. They forced it to overtime. They did not embarrass themselves. They looked like they were supposed to be there. And yes, I think the Comets are definitely a top tier team in the league now. They're getting back to that point they were at 5 or 6 years ago when they were winning the championship. And I'm excited for them. I think they're a team that I like seeing them do really well. I mean, I like seeing all the teams do very well. But it's exciting to see the Comets get back into that good form they had during those dominant years they had a little while ago. Moving on to the Dallas versus St. Louis game, a game that I was actually able to watch, and a game where the Ambush won, and they won it fairly easily, but I think they could have won it by more. What I saw Dallas doing in this game was that they were kind of sitting back on defense a little bit, and what they were doing was waiting for St. Louis to make a mistake, and then they tried to capitalize on that on the counterattack, and that worked for them in the first quarter, but after that, St. Louis started to pick them apart pretty easily. St. Louis had a lot of really good opportunities in this game, and in some cases they just couldn't get a shot off for whatever reason, and in other cases they just had a bad shot. So to me, they could have scored a whole bunch more in this game, and it could have been a pretty big blowout. I still think Dallas is a team that is coming together nicely, and a team that in the not too distant future will be pretty good, but in this game we saw definitive proof that they are not quite there yet. Okay, so now we can go ahead and move on to the future and predict the games coming up this weekend. There are only 2 of them. We'll start off with the Florida Tropics hosting the Dallas Sidekicks. This is the easiest one to predict. Florida is in excellent form right now, while Dallas is yes, they're looking better than they have. They're just nowhere close to the level of Florida. I'm picking the Tropics to win this one, and I would not be surprised if it was a blowout. Which brings us to the second game of the weekend, the one that I think is going to be very interesting, the St. Louis Ambush hosting the Kansas City Comets. As I said earlier, the Comets to me have solidified themselves as a top tier team in this league. But as I've also said before, I think St. Louis has the potential to be one of those teams. They just haven't been playing at that level quite yet this season. But in Dallas, I think I saw them starting to reach that level. So we have 2 teams that I think each have the capability of winning this game. And let me tell you, this is one of those games where I've gone back and forth on it. And when that is the case, I tend to lean towards picking the home team, which in this case is St. Louis. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm picking the ambush to win this game, but it's going to be a close one. And with that, I think we can wrap this episode up, but thank you for watching. While you're here, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time.